They mocked Earth at the Council. Humanity abolished all treaties overnight. Part 1. The humiliation. The Galactic Assembly Hall was the biggest building Park Yuna had ever seen. It floated in space like a small moon, made of white stone and glowing metal. Inside, thousands of aliens from 63 different species sat in their seats, watching her. Yuna stood alone at the center podium. She wore her best uniform. Her hands were steady, but her heart was beating fast. Behind her, a hologram of Earth rotated slowly, wrapped in olive branches. The symbol of peace. She had practiced her speech 100 times. She knew every word. Honored representatives, she began, her voice clear and strong. Humanity asks to be raised to Tier 2 status in the Galactic Compact. We have followed all the rules. We have been peaceful for 50 years. We have met every goal you set for us. She did not get to finish. Laughter came from the left side of the hall. High, strange sounds from the Veltary section. Then more laughter from other areas. Soon, half the chamber was making noises that needed no translation. High Counselor Morthax raised one of his 4 hands. He was tall, covered in shiny green scales. And he looked at Yuna the way a person might look at a child who said something foolish. Ambassador Park, he said slowly. Your species has been part of this compact for only 112 years. You are babies. Funny babies, yes. Hard workers, yes. But babies. The Fenari delegate spoke next. The Fenari were made of crystal, and their voice sounded like breaking glass. Maybe humans should focus on their real jobs, mining, building things, work that matches their abilities. Yuna kept her face calm, but anger burned inside her. We have given more materials to the compact in 50 years than the Fenari have given in 500. Yes, exactly, Morthax replied with a smile. You are excellent workers. Why would we waste such useful workers on government? The whole chamber seemed to agree. Clicking sounds, humming, vibrating, all mixing together an approval dot in the observation area above. Admiral Kang Do-hyun watched his daughter stand alone against the mockery. His hands gripped the railing so hard that his fingers turned white. General Bae Myre stood beside him, her face like stone. They're not even hiding it anymore, she whispered. No, Do-hyun replied quietly. They never were hiding it. We just finally see the truth. Below, Morthax was still talking. Your request is denied. Also, the Council has decided to increase Earth's material quotas by 40%. The Compact has needs, Ambassador. Your world will meet those needs. He smiled his alien smile. You may tell your government. This meeting is finished. He hit his gavel on the table. Yuna did not move for a long moment. Everyone was still laughing, still making their mocking sounds. Then she gathered her papers. She turned around. She walked out of the chamber with her head high. She did not bow. She did not look at anyone. In the corridor outside, her father and General Bae were waiting. Yuna, her father started to say. Not here, she said. Her voice was controlled, but her eyes were burning. We have 6 hours before they expect us to accept the new quotas. And if we do not accept, Myre asked. Yuna looked at her. Then we need to have something else to say. 6 hours later, Yuna opened a communication channel to Earth from the ship Steadfast. Secretary General Moon Ji-woo appeared on the screen. His face was serious. Behind him sat the full Security Council of Earth. We watched the broadcast, Ji-woo said. The whole world watched. Sir, I am sorry. You did nothing wrong, Ambassador. You showed them dignity. He paused. Now it is our turn. Admiral Kang stepped forward. Mr. Secretary General, the military is ready. Ready for what? Asked Counselor Shin Yoonji, the youngest member of the council. We have 12 small ships. They have thousands. Have something else, said a new voice. The screen changed. To show Dr. Choi Hana, she was the director of a research base that officially did not exist. Project Threshold, she said. It is ready. It has been ready for 20 years. We were hoping we would never need it. Everyone was silent. Secretary General Moon leaned forward. Show us. Dr. Choi's laboratory was hidden 3 kilometers under the ice of Antarctica. The building was carved from ancient ice and covered with special materials to hide. What was inside? The Secretary General and his advisors stood on a platform. Below them was something impossible. A ball of contained fire, like a tiny sun, floating in a cage of invisible forces. We call it a quantum fold reactor, Hana explained. Her voice carried the weight of decades of secret work. The compact uses old technology for energy. Good, but limited. This uses science they have not discovered. Science they may never discover. Her assistant, a young engineer named Oh Taiho, showed them pictures on the screen. The reactor does not just make power, Taiho said. It bends space. Our tests show we can travel about 40 times faster than any ship in the compact. General Bay made a surprised sound. 40 times? That is a careful estimate. It might be more. Secretary General Moon turned away from the tiny sun. What else? You said military uses. Hana and Taiho looked at each other. Then Hana led everyone to another room. A simple cylinder sat on a strong table. It looked almost boring. The compact uses energy shields to protect their ships, Hana said. All of them use the same kind of shields. They have shared this technology for thousands of years. This device breaks those shields. In our tests, it destroyed shields completely in less than half a second. Admiral Kang spoke slowly. So every ship in their fleet would have no protection against us? Yes. The room was silent. Secretary General Moon walked to a window. Outside, thousands of people worked in the secret base. Scientists, engineers, soldiers. All keeping a secret that could change the galaxy. Why did we hide this? He asked. We could have shown them years ago. Because strength makes others afraid, Hana said quietly. And fear makes them attack first. We were not ready. Not enough ships. Not enough certainty. She joined him at the window. We are still not fully ready. But after today, we have no choice. Moon turned to face his council. His daughter's empty seat was still visible on the screen. Contact all human ships. All colonies. All stations. Complete silence in 1 hour. His voice was hard as iron. And get me a line to High Counselor Morthax. Earth has something to say. They mocked Earth at the Council. Humanity abolished all treaties overnight. Part 2. The answer 8 hours after the mockery in the assembly hall. Ambassador Park Yuna stood at the central podium again. But this time, everything was different. Behind her, Earth's symbol had changed. The olive branches were gone. Now it showed Earth wrapped in chains, and those chains were breaking apart. The chamber was more crowded than before. Word had spread that the humans wanted an emergency meeting. Aliens from every corner of the compact had come to watch. Most of them were curious. Some were amused. They expected the humans to cry, or beg, or make empty threats. High Counselor Morthax looked down from his high seat. He was annoyed. Ambassador, you asked for this meeting to accept the new quotas. You have wasted the Council's time with drama. Say what you came to say. Yuna smiled. It was not a friendly smile. High Counselor, honored representatives, I am here to give Earth's official answer. She paused. The silence stretched. The United Earth Federation rejects the quota increase. Sounds of surprise filled the chamber. Also, Yuna continued, her voice rising, the United Earth Federation is leaving all treaties and agreements with the Galactic Council. This is effective immediately. The sounds of surprise became shouts. Morthax hit his gavel again and again. You cannot do this. The compact does not allow one-sided withdrawal. The compact, Una said calmly, does not get to decide. She touched a small device in her ear. Admiral Kang, please proceed. The main screen in the chamber changed. Everyone stopped shouting. Everyone stopped moving. Everyone stared. Ships. Human ships. But not the 12 small frigates that everyone knew about. 300 vessels appeared from folded space, forming a perfect pattern around the station. They were designs no one had ever seen before. Their shapes were smooth and sharp at the same time. Their engines glowed with light that was almost painful to look at. 6 hours ago, Una said into the complete silence, Earth's real fleet entered compact space. We have more forces at 17 important locations in your territory. We are not asking you to accept our withdrawal. We are telling you about it. Morthax had turned pale under his green scales. This is war. No, war would mean we attack you. We have no interest in that. We just want to be left alone. Any compact ship that enters human space will be warned once. Then it will be stopped. Any attack on human interests will receive an equal response. She paused. And High Counselor? Our idea of equal might be different from yours. The Fenari delegate was shaking, their crystal body vibrating with what looked like fear. You are lying. 300 ships cannot threaten the compact. The screen changed again. It showed a single human ship, small, facing a compact destroyer. The destroyer turned on its shields at full power. The human ship fired once. The destroyer's shields did not just weaken. They disappeared completely. The ship sat dead in space. Every system was dark. The vessel was completely fine, but totally helpless. That ship is being taken to safety now, Una said. Its crew will be returned without harm. We are not monsters. She looked directly at Morthax. We are just not yours to mock anymore. She picked up her papers. The same movement as before, but everything was different now. Earth will contact you about new rules. I suggest you answer when we call. Ambassador Park Una walked out of the Galactic Assembly Hall for the second time that day. This time, no one was laughing. The next few weeks were chaos throughout the galaxy. In the compact's main systems. Emergency meetings ran all day and all night. Military leaders who had believed in their own power for centuries tried to understand technology that should not exist. Spies searched for any information about humanity, looking for weaknesses. They found none. On Earth, things were different. Dr. Choi Hana stood in the main building area of the Antarctic base, watching the 73rd ship take shape. Workers moved around the metal skeleton like busy insects, installing systems that would have seemed like magic just 100 years ago. We are ahead of schedule, Taiho reported, appearing beside her with a tablet full of numbers. If we keep this speed, we will have 500 fighting ships within 1 year. And the defense platforms? 12 working around Earth, 6 more around each colony. Mars came online last night. Hannah nodded. How are regular people taking it? Outside the military, I mean. Taiho hesitated. Mixed feelings. Some are celebrating. Some are scared. Most are just trying to understand. Understanding that their government lied to them for 60 years. Understanding that they are not alone in the universe. That they never were. And that they were being used. Hannah understood. The truth about the compact had hit people hard. The aliens had kept humanity weak on purpose. They had controlled technology, controlled trade, and quietly stopped human progress. All while pretending to be helpful friends. I expected fear, she said quietly. The anger surprises me. Across the solar system, that anger was finding direction. On Mars, Chief Administrator Yang Sumi spoke to a crowd that had gathered in the middle of the night. Her words went out to every human colony. For 112 years, we believed we were part of something wonderful. A galactic family. A group of species reaching for the stars together. Her voice cracked slightly. We were wrong. The crowd was silent, listening to every word. The compact saw us as tools. Our work, our materials, our planets, all of it food for their comfort. They patted us on the head and called us children. She held the podium tightly. Our grandparents accepted their place because they thought it was temporary. Our parents accepted it because they hoped we would see something better. She looked down at the faces. Miners, engineers, teachers, soldiers, children. And we were about to accept more quotas. More work. More serving aliens who laughed at our ambassador in public. The anger in the crowd was alive now. No more. Earth has shown us what we really are. Not children. Not workers. Not tools. We are humanity. And we will never be mocked again. The cheering that followed shook the dome. Back in the assembly hall, High Counselor Morthax sat alone in the darkness. His advisors had all left. His military commanders had no good news. His intelligence officers had no useful information. A communication light blinked out, he answered. Admiral Kang the Human's face appeared on the screen. Counselor, the human said, I am coming to visit you. We need to talk about the future. You would not dare. I am already on my way. My ship will arrive at your location in approximately 4 minutes. Dawn smiled. I suggest you prepare your best welcome. The connection ended. Morthax stared at the empty screen. 4 minutes. The journey from Earth to here took 2 weeks at the fastest compact speed. 4 minutes. For the first time in his long life, High Counselor Morthax felt something he had not felt since childhood. Fear. They mocked Earth at the Council. Humanity abolished all treaties. Overnight Part 3. The demonstration Admiral Kan Do-yun walked through the corridors of the Valkyrie flagship like he was taking a pleasant morning walk. Guards surrounded him with weapons drawn, but he did not seem to notice them. Behind him, 4 human marines in powered armor followed quietly. The armor made the Valkyrie security look like toys. Morthax waited in his private chambers. His best advisors stood around him. His best weapons protected him. Admiral Kang, he said as the human entered. You take a big risk coming here. Do I? Do-hyun looked around the room without interest. Your shields are offline. Your weapons are locked. Your communications are being watched by 6 human ships you cannot see. He sat down in a chair without being invited. I think I am quite safe. Morthax's scales changed color. Fear. What do you want? Good. Direct. I like that. Do-hyun made himself comfortable. I am here to give you our terms. Terms? For our new relationship. The compact will stop all economic controls on human space immediately. All old trade agreements are cancelled. Every human in compact prisons will be released within 3 days. He paused. And you, personally, will give a public apology to Ambassador Park for how you treated her. Morthax stared at him. Then, slowly, he began to laugh. That same chittering sound from the assembly hall. You come to my ship, surrounded by my forces, and you make demands. I am not finished. Do-hyun's voice cut through the laughter like a knife. You will also give us complete information about your shipyard technology, your mining operations, your farming systems. This is crazy. Why would we ever? Because in about 4 minutes, a quantum fold device will activate at the heart of your home world's biggest military base. Silence. Not a weapon. Do-hyun continued calmly. A demonstration. Every ship, every vehicle, every piece of military equipment in that base will simply disappear. Folded into space that leads nowhere. No deaths. We confirmed the base is empty for yearly maintenance. How lucky. Morthax had turned completely white. You are lying. I really hope you believe that. 3 minutes and 47 seconds later, 12,000 Velthari warships vanished from existence. Dalyun checked his watch. Now then, shall we discuss terms? News of the disappearance spread across the galaxy within hours. 12,000 warships gone in an instant. No explosion. No battle. Just empty space where the mightiest fleet in the sector had been. The Compact's power had always rested on one simple truth. No one could challenge them. That truth was now broken. Morthax agreed to every term. He had no choice, but the real surprise came from somewhere unexpected. Ambassador Park Yuna was working in her quarters on the Steadfast when a communication request came through. The name made her stop. Fenari Prime, high priority, addressed to her personally. She accepted the call. The crystal being on the screen was not the one who had mocked humanity's abilities. This one was older, more complex, their light moving in patterns that seemed almost sad. Ambassador Park, the being said, their voice like distant bells. I am Elder Myong. I speak for the Fenari Council of Origins. Yuna kept her face neutral. Elder, I did not know the Fenari wanted to talk to humanity directly. We did not. Until now. The Elder's form shifted, light flowing through their body. I watched the assembly session. Both of them. I saw what my people's representatives said to you. How they laughed. I remember. I am here to apologize. Yuna blinked. I was not expecting that. No. You expected threats or begging or tricks. Humanity has learned to expect nothing else from the Compact. The Elder's voice carried something like shame. We taught you that. All of us. We taught you that kindness was weakness and pride was a joke. Elder Myong, please. Let me finish. The crystal being moved closer to their screen. The Fenari were once like humanity. Young. Ambitious. Reaching for stars we could barely understand. And the Compact found us, just as they found you. They offered guidance, partnership, a place in the galaxy. And you accepted. We accepted. And over thousands of years, we forgot what we once were. We became comfortable, lazy. We learned to look down on younger species, because looking down was all we had left. Yuna was quiet for a moment. Why are you telling me this? Because humanity has done something the Fenari never could. You said no. The Elder glowed with colors Yuna had never seen. You built something in secret, not to conquer, but to make sure you could never be conquered. And when you showed yourselves, you showed mercy. The Velthari base was empty. You made sure it was empty before you acted. 12,000 warships gone, and not one person died. The Elder's voice softened. Do you know how rare that is? The Compact's history is written in blood. Every change in power has cost millions of lives. And humanity? We did not want to kill anyone, Yuna said simply. We just wanted to be free. Yes. The Elder seemed to study her. Which is why I'm contacting you. Not as a representative of the Compact. I speak against the Council's wishes. But I speak for those of us who remember what it was like to dream of something better. What are you offering? Information. The Compact has kept humanity weak, not just through military power, but through control of knowledge. There are technologies, resources, opportunities that have been hidden from your species on purpose. I can give you access. Yuna leaned forward. In exchange for what? A promise. When humanity takes its place in the galaxy, and you will, nothing can stop that now. Remember that not all of us laughed. Some of us wept. The connection was silent for a long moment. I will take your offer to my government, Yuna said finally. But I need to ask, why do you care? The Phanari have been part of the compact longer than humans have existed. Why does our freedom matter to you? The elder was quiet. When they spoke again, their voice was barely a whisper. Because I had a child once, brilliant, creative, full of questions about the universe. They wanted to build new things, explore new ideas, challenge everything we had accepted for so long. What happened to them? The compact happened. They were taught to behave, taught to accept their place. The dreams were carefully removed until all that was left was another proper Phanari citizen. Light moved through the elder's form like tears. I watched humanity in that assembly hall, and I saw my child. Before they were broken. I am sorry. Do not be sorry. Be better than we were. Be what we should have been. The elder straightened. The information will arrive within the hour. Use it well, Ambassador. The galaxy is watching. The connection closed. Yuna sat alone in her quarters for a long time. She thought about what it cost to lose hope, and what it meant to find it again. The intelligence from Elder Mayong proved more valuable than anyone expected. Hidden in the data were stories of dozens of species that the compact had quietly destroyed. Civilizations that were too ambitious, too creative, too dangerous to the compact's control. Some had been eliminated. Others had been absorbed so completely that nothing of their original culture remained. And some, it seemed, had simply hidden. Waiting. Dr. Choi Hanna worked for 3 days without sleep, studying the Phanari information. There is a pattern, she said finally, her voice rough from exhaustion. She was speaking to Earth's leaders through a secure connection. The compact does not just stop technology. They stop potential. Any species that shows signs of developing something new, something outside their control, gets targeted. How? Secretary General Moon asked. Economic pressure first, then political isolation, then, if needed, military action made to look like self-defense. Hannah showed them a star map with many markers. These are the species the compact has destroyed in the last 1,000 years. 19 civilizations. All of them were close to discoveries that would have changed the balance of power. Admiral Kang studied the map. And humanity? We should have been next. Based on the pattern, we were scheduled for increased pressure starting about 50 years ago. The economic strangling was just the beginning. The quotas, Yuna said quietly. Exactly. If we had accepted them, we would have been too weak to maintain our research. Within another generation, we would have been completely dependent on compact technology, compact trade, compact approval for everything. Secretary General Moon's face was grim. Then the question is, what do we do with this information? We share it, said Counselor Shin Yoonji. Everyone turned to look at her. The compact keeps power through isolation. They make each species believe they are alone, that cooperation with the Council is their only choice, that fighting back is impossible. She looked around the room. But what if they knew they were not alone? What if every hidden civilization, every suppressed species, every society that has been dreaming of freedom in secret, what if they all knew that someone finally said no? You are talking about starting a revolution, Admiral Kang said. I am talking about ending an empire. Secretary General Moon stood slowly. He walked to the window, watching ships being built, workers moving with purpose. Prepare the broadcast, he said finally. Every channel, every system, every corner of this galaxy where someone might be listening. He turned to face his council. Let them know they are not alone. They mocked Earth at the Council. Humanity abolished all treaties overnight. Part 4. The Awakening. The message went out across every communication channel humanity could reach. It began simply. To all who have been told their place is beneath. To all who have dreamed and been punished for dreaming. To all who look at the stars and see prisons instead of possibilities, you are not alone. The message included everything. Elder Myong's intelligence, humanity's journey, the truth about how the Compact had destroyed species who dared to imagine something better. The response was immediate. An overwhelming dot within days. Hidden communications began reaching Earth from corners of the galaxy humanity had never contacted. Some messages were careful, frightened, not quite believing. Others were filled with joy. The first free words spoken by civilizations that had kept silent for hundreds of years. Ambassador Park Yuna found herself at the center of the most important work in human history. Not representing Earth to the Compact anymore. Now she was helping to build something completely new. The Vazari were the first to officially leave the Compact. She reported to the Security Council 3 months after the broadcast. Their queen made a public speech declaring their withdrawal and their friendship with humanity. The Compact's response was predictable. Military action? Moon asked. They tried. 3 fleets moved toward Vasari space. Yuna allowed herself a small smile. They met our 5th patrol group at the border. After a short standoff and 1 demonstration of our shield-breaking technology, the fleets went home. We are becoming the galaxy's protectors, Admiral Kang observed. We are becoming proof that the Compact can be challenged. Yuna showed them a growing list of names. 17 species have now officially asked for alliance with Earth. Another 43 are in talks with us. The Venari Council is experiencing what their historians call unprecedented internal argument. Elder Myong's group is growing every day. Councillor Shin Yoonji leaned forward. And Morthax? The Compact leadership? Falling apart. The Velthari are trying to hold things together, but too many species are asking questions they never dared ask before. The economic system that kept everyone dependent is showing cracks. Trade routes are changing. Resources are moving in new directions. To us? To freedom. We are just a symbol. We are just a symbol. On Mars, Chief Administrator Yang Sumi stood in a communication center that had become the busiest place in the solar system. Screens covered every wall, showing conversations with species that humans were meeting for the first time. The Kalani were beings of living metal who had hidden their true abilities for 1,000 years. The Vasari were winged creatures whose homeworld had beautiful floating cities. The Denari were small, quick beings who had been forced to work in compact mines for generations. Each species had a story. Each story was the same. Hope crushed, dreams stolen, spirits broken by a system designed to keep them down. And each species had the same question. Can we really be free? Sumi answered them all with the same words. You already are. You just forgot. Dr. Choi Hana worked without rest, sharing technology with new allies who could barely believe what they were seeing. She stood in her laboratory, explaining the quantum fold reactor to a group of Kalani scientists. The principle is actually simple, she said, though it was anything but simple. Space can be folded. Like paper. You do not travel through space. You bring your destination to you. The lead Kalani scientist, a being whose metal body shifted like liquid silver, studied the diagrams with what Hana had learned to recognize as wonder. We theorized this was possible, they said. 3,000 years ago. The Compact told us we were wrong. They said the physics did not support it. They lied. Yes. The Kalani's form rippled. They lied about many things. Would you like to learn the truth? The Kalani looked at their fellow scientists, then back at Hana. Yes, we would like that very much. Not everyone was celebrating Dot in Seoul. Professor Nam Jie sat in her old office, watching news reports that seemed to come from a different universe. She had spent 40 years studying galactic diplomacy. 40 years teaching students how to work within the compact system, how to be patient, how to accept small victories. All of it useless now. A knock came at her door. She knew who it was before she opened it. "Professor," Una said. Her former student looked older now, harder. The weight of changing history showed in her eyes. "Ambassador." GA gestured to a chair. "Or should I say, revolutionary?" "I never wanted to be a revolutionary. I wanted to be a diplomat. Yet here we are." GA sat across from her. "Tell me honestly, are we doing the right thing?" Una was quiet for a moment. "Do you remember what you taught me in my first year? About the nature of power? Power exists to serve the powerful. True change requires making power serve everyone. The compact was never going to share power. They were never going to let us rise. Every path of patience, every road of small victories, they all led to the same place. Humanity serving alien masters forever." Una met her professor's eyes. "You taught me to find another way when the obvious ways were blocked. I taught you to find peaceful ways. We tried peaceful ways for 100 years. They laughed at us." Una's voice softened. "I stood in that assembly hall and gave the best speech of my life. I followed every rule. I showed perfect dignity. And they laughed." GA was silent for a long time. "So what happens now? You have broken the old order. What will you build in its place?" "Something better. Something where no species gets told their dreams are too big. Where no civilization gets crushed for daring to imagine a different future." "That sounds wonderful. It also sounds impossible. Everything we have done was supposed to be impossible." Una stood to leave. "Maybe impossible is just a word people use to avoid trying." 6 months after the withdrawal, Earth hosted the first Galactic Council of Free Species. The meeting was held in Geneva. A special building had been quickly built to hold beings of every type. Air chambers sat next to open areas. Translation systems worked constantly. Security from many species kept watch, but the feeling was not tension. It was wonder. Secretary General Moon stood at the main podium. Representatives from 37 species, more than had ever gathered outside compact control, waited to hear what humanity had to say. "Friends," Moon began. The word itself felt new. "We are here because somewhere, sometime, each of our species looked at the universe and dared to imagine we might have a place in it. That imagination was stolen from us, suppressed, mocked." His gaze moved across the assembly. "Today, we take it back." The applause that followed came in a dozen different forms. Sounds, lights, movements, colors. But the meaning was the same. Ambassador Park Una watched from a quiet corner, her father beside her. "Your mother would be proud," Admiral Kang said quietly. Una smiled. "She would be terrified. And then she would tell me to stand up straighter. That too." They stood in comfortable silence as speech followed speech. As alliances became official, as a new chapter of galactic history wrote itself into existence. "What happens now?" Una asked eventually. "Now?" "The hard work. Building trust. Creating systems that cannot be corrupted like the compact was. Finding ways to live together without becoming what we fought against. That is the part they do not put in the stories. The after. No." Admiral Kang smiled, watching a human engineer talking excitedly with a Kalani scientist. "But maybe that is the most important part." Across the room, Dr. Choi Hana found herself standing next to Elder Myong. "Strange, is it not?" the Fenari said, watching history begin. "History has always been happening," Hana replied. "True, but most beings only recognize turning points long after they have passed. We have the gift of standing in one." Elder Myong's crystal form caught the light beautifully. "Whatever comes next, this moment will be remembered." "For how long?" "Perhaps forever." Perhaps just until the next turning point. The elder's voice carried something like peace. Does it matter? We are here. We chose this. That is enough. Hannah thought about the years of secret work, the fear that they would be discovered, the hope that they would never need what they were building. Yes, she said finally. That is enough. They mocked Earth at the Council Humanity, abolished all treaties overnight. Part 5. The new dawn. 1 year had passed since humanity walked out of the Galactic Assembly Hall. 1 year since the laughter. 1 year since everything changed. The galaxy looked different now. The compact still existed, but it was a shadow of what it had been. Half its member species had left. Trade routes that had been controlled for thousands of years now flowed freely. Military bases that had enforced compact law sat empty or had been converted to something better. In their place, something new was growing. The Free Species Alliance held its monthly meeting in a station that had been built by 6 different species working together. Human engineers had designed the structure. Kalani metal shapers had formed the walls. Bazari artists had decorated the corridors. Tanari workers had installed systems that ran more efficiently than anything the Compact had ever built. Ambassador Park Yuna walked through these corridors every day, still amazed at what they had created. Ambassador! A young Fanari ran toward her, their crystal form flashing with excitement. The Dorothy have agreed. They want to join. Yuna smiled. The Dorothy had been wavering for months, afraid of compact retaliation. That is wonderful news. Please send my congratulations to their representatives. The young Fanari hurried away. Yuna continued her walk, passing beings of every shape and type. A year ago, most of these species had never spoken to each other directly. The Compact had kept everyone separated, communicating only through approved channels. Now they shared meals, worked on projects together, argued about philosophy in common spaces. It was messy. It was complicated. It was beautiful. She found her father in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. 42 species now, she said, joining him at the window. Plus 18 more in serious talks. Admiral Kang nodded slowly. I remember when we thought having allies was impossible. When the Compact seemed eternal. Nothing is eternal. No. He turned to look at her. How are you handling all this? Really? Yuna considered the question. For months after the withdrawal, she had worked without stopping. Meetings, negotiations, speeches, crises that needed solving every hour. She had not allowed herself to feel anything beyond the immediate need. But lately, in quiet moments, other feelings had started to surface. I think about that day in the assembly hall sometimes, she said. When they laughed. For years, I believed if I just worked hard enough, if I was perfect enough, they would accept us. See us as equals. And now I understand they were never going to accept us. The system was designed to keep us down. No amount of perfection would have changed that. She paused. But I also wonder, if they had been kinder that day, if they had just increased the quotas without the mockery, would we have accepted? Would we have shown our hand? Her father was quiet for a moment. You think their cruelty saved us? I think their cruelty woke us up, made us see clearly. Yuna looked out at the stars. Kindness from oppressors is the most dangerous weapon. It makes you forget you are oppressed. Across the galaxy, other conversations were happening. On the Fanari homeworld, Elder Mayong addressed the Council of Origins for the final time. Their age had finally caught up with them. Crystal beings did not die like flesh beings, but they eventually became too tired to maintain their forms. I have lived for 4,000 years, Mayong said, their voice still clear despite their fading structure. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched my people become comfortable with injustice. I have felt the shame of being part of a system that crushed the dreams of others. The council listened in silence. Some had supported Myong's choices. Others had called them a traitor. But all respected the elder's right to final words. In my last year, I saw something I thought was impossible. A young species mocked and dismissed stood up and said no. They did not seek revenge. They did not want to conquer. They simply refused to accept that the way things were was the way things had to be. Myong's form flickered, light scattering through cracks that had not been there a month ago. I gave them information because I hoped they would succeed. But I gave them something more important too. I gave them the truth that the Phanari had forgotten. Freedom is not given. It is chosen. Every day. Every moment. You choose to be free, or you choose to be comfortable. You cannot choose both. The council chamber was completely silent. The humans are building something new out there. Something that welcomes everyone willing to choose freedom. I hope, before I fade completely, that the Phanari will remember what we once were. Before the compact. Before we forgot how to dream. Elder Myong's final words hung in the air. Then their crystal form began to scatter, turning to light, drifting upward like stars returning to the sky. On Earth, life had changed in ways both large and small. Dr. Choi Hana had finally taken a vacation. Her first in over 30 years. She sat on a beach in Jeju, watching waves that looked the same as they had when she was a child. Before the compact. Before the secrets. Before everything. Her assistant, Oh Tai-ho, had sent her a message that morning. The newest ships were ahead of schedule. The Alliance Defense Network was stronger than ever. Everything was working. She had read the message, smiled, and then put her tablet away. Dr. Choi? She looked up to see a young girl, maybe 10 years old, standing nearby with her parents. "I'm sorry to bother you," the girl's mother said. "But she really wanted to meet you." "You made the ships," the girl said. Her eyes were wide with wonder. "You made the things that saved us." Hana smiled and gestured for the girl to sit beside her. "I had a lot of help. Thousands of people worked on those ships. But you started it. My teacher said you worked on the reactor for 20 years before anyone knew about it." "That is true. Were you scared?" "That whole time?" Hannah thought about the question. The sleepless nights. The moments of doubt. The constant fear that they would be discovered. That all their work would be destroyed before it could matter. "Yes," she said honestly. "I was scared every day. But I kept working anyway." "Why?" "Because I believed we deserved better. And because fear is not a good reason to stop doing what is right." Hannah looked out at the ocean. "You will feel scared sometimes. Everyone does. The important thing is what you do with that fear. You can let it stop you. Or you can let it remind you why you are fighting." The girl considered this with the seriousness only children can manage. "I want to be a scientist too. I want to help build things." "Then you will. The galaxy is full of things that need building now." Hana ruffled the girl's hair gently. "And we need every dreamer we can get." 1 year after the mockery, High Counselor Morthax sat alone in what remained of the Compact's Grand Assembly Hall. Most species had withdrawn. The hall that once held representatives from 63 civilizations now echoed with emptiness. Only a handful of members remained. Those too afraid or too invested in the old system to leave. A communication signal interrupted his solitary thoughts. Ambassador Park Yuna's face appeared on the screen. "Counselor," she said. Her voice was neither warm nor cold, professional. "I am calling to formally invite the Velthari to send a representative to the Free Species Alliance annual gathering." Morthax stared at her. "You would welcome us? After everything? The Alliance is open to all who commit to its principles. Cooperation by choice. Respect for all species. No species above another. She paused. The Velthari have a choice to make. Try to rebuild the old compact with whoever will follow, or be part of something new, something human, something free. Yuna's expression softened slightly. We were never your enemies, counselor. We just refused to be your servants. There is a difference. The connection held for a long moment. I will present your invitation to my people, Morthak said finally. That is all we ask. The screen went dark. Morthak sat in the empty chamber, thinking about power and pride and the terrible cost of learning too late. Then he began to write a message to his people. A message about choices, about change, about the possibility that even those who had made terrible mistakes might find a way forward. The stars burned on, as they always had. But something had changed in the patterns of life that moved between them. Across the galaxy, beings looked up at the sky with different eyes. Species that had accepted their place for thousands of years began to ask questions. Children who had been taught to be small started to dream of being big. It was not the end of all problems. It was not the beginning of paradise. The universe was still vast and dangerous and full of challenges that would test the new alliance for generations to come. But it was the end of one story and the beginning of another. The end of a galaxy that knew its place, and the beginning of one that dared to imagine something more. They had mocked Earth at the council. Earth had answered. And nothing would ever be the same. In a small apartment on Earth, a child asked their parent about the stars. What is out there? The parent smiled and picked up the child, holding them near the window where distant lights sparkled. Friends, the parent said. People who are different from us but the same where it matters. And room for everyone to grow. Can I go there someday? You can go anywhere. That is what being human means now. We can go anywhere. Be anything. Dream as big as we want. The parent hugged the child close. The galaxy is ours. Not to own, to share, to explore, to make better.